Welcome to another episode of the How's Your Ground Game podcast. I'm Damoon. Joining me from Vero Beach is Birdman himself. How's it going?
How's it going? Things are going good. Things are going good. Beautiful, beautiful weather down here. It's in the 80s. How's it in New York?
You know, it was so cold last night when I got home from training. My joints, shoulders and knees, just for like an hour or two. I didn't even roll last night. I was just teaching. They just hurt for no reason. I think just from being in the cold.
That cold, that raw, it's no good for you. I keep telling everybody that. It's no good for you.
No, human beings weren't made for this weather. We would have fur. More fur.
We have fur, yes. Yeah. Come down, see you're drinking coffee or tea right there, trying to warm up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not wearing any pants right now. So, it's short sleeves, no pants. Come on.
Living the life.
Living the life. I'm looking out at palm trees.
How's the Deuce doing?
The Deuce is really testing my no, he's been good. He's a couple things he's fucked up on, but for the most part he's been great.
Okay. Is he fitting in with the pack?
Yeah, he's beating up on everybody.
All right, good.
Yeah, so he sleeps through the night now. Completely. So I put him. He gets to bed no later than 10 p.m. and I woke him up at like 9:30 this morning.
Okay. All right, perfect.
So we had the beginning, getting up in the middle of the night so he can go out and go to the bathroom. He's got that figured out. He just stop eating shoes and everybody be happy.
Step by step.
Yeah.
I had a high school night with my son who's going into high school.
Damn.
And I had this thought that I feel like teenagers in high school, they're like the blue belts of the real world.
Yeah.
They
think they got their shit together and
yeah. Just walking through and the kids were just roughhousing in the hallway. I mean, they're like good kids or whatever, but still they're just being themselves. I'm just like, I hate this.
Yeah. Speaking of young people and that video I sent you about the Starbucks kid crying.
Oh, because he has to work a full 8-hour shift?
Yeah, and he's 3 hours into it and he's just in absolute fucking tears.
Different generation.
The blue belts of society.
The blue belts of society.
Yes.
I have gotten some comments that we do demonstrate a lot of blue belt hate on this show, but
is it anyone other than blue belts saying that?
No, actually,
it's just blue belts.
It's just blue belts. Yes.
Oh, fuck them.
Exactly.
That's what I gotta say. It's fuck them. Talk to Uncle Nicky. Blue belts, you suck till further notice.
That's right.
Right? If you guys stop acting like this, we'll stop treating you like this.
That's right.
We didn't start this. You did. Damoon wasn't like this as a blue belt. I don't believe I was like this as a blue belt. Devin was not like John Bush, Johnny Cruz. We can go on and on about the blue belts we know from our time. Weren't like this. You guys are dropping the ball. You want us to stop calling you out? Stop dropping the ball.
Stop watching YouTube tutorials, or at least if you're gonna watch
filming. No, stop filming YouTube tutorials as a blue belt.
How's everything going with the wash and fold?
Wash and fold is doing good. Yeah, we Professor Mike is updating our website right now.
Awesome.
Put a little into that. I think we got a couple clinics coming up. Oh, excuse me.
You got a lot of white belts on the mat right now, right?
Almost all white belts.
Yeah. It's funny. So we had our January rush out here in Brooklyn and had a few new students, great guys, sign up. And this is the first time because now I have like a gradation. I have white belts, blue belts, purple belts on the mat.
Yeah.
This is the first time where I've come across two fresh white belts about to roll with each other. And I just have that moment where I'm like, okay, I need to stop everything else and I need to just, is this a good idea? Let me just keep an eye on these two guys.
How wrong is this going to go?
How wrong? And it's funny because when I first opened the school, everybody was a fresh white belt. But I feel like because everybody was a fresh white belt, there was like a certain timidness to it. When a white belt rolls with a blue belt and or an upper belt, and he can kind of get away with stuff, like it's almost like he's running around in like a bouncy house, right?
Yeah.
And then when it's two white belts, it's not a bouncy house anymore. You got concrete floors.
Yeah. They're trying to run around inside a phone booth together.
That's right. Yes, yes. But I guess that's part of the growing process, right?
Yeah. Oh, we talked about white belts. Are we going to get complaints that we're, picking on white belts now too?
We're equal opportunity on this show.
Yeah, fuck everybody.
That's right.
If you act like an asshole, you're going to get it. That's it.
If you're on the mats, you're in check. That's it, right?
When you're on the mats, just, you know what? Don't act like a blue belt. Don't act like a purple belt. How about you just act like an adult? How about we all just act like adults?
It's a big ask.
I know it's a big ask. And put that respect for, the people who have been there before you,
Absolutely.
right? Not the contempt.
For sure. For sure. And approach it like you're an amateur in anything else. Just because you read something online or something doesn't mean that you're steps ahead of your instructor who's been doing this for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, right?
Yeah, it's just craziness.
Good stuff. Good stuff, though. It's the circle of life. It's the completion of the pyramid scheme. That's what I tell my white belts. You guys are being onboarded, and then once you guys make a few sales, and then new white belts come in, you guys get to push them down the line too. So
you get a bump up.
You get to bump up, exactly.
Yeah, you're gonna make no money, but you get a bump up.
That's right.
Just like a real pyramid scheme.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. We did have.
Have you ever been part of a pyramid scheme? Just the fact that you're taking this long to answer it tells me it's yes.
I've never been lost in a pyramid scheme.
No, it's not what I asked. I asked, have you ever been part of a pyramid scheme?
I don't think so.
Whether you were running it or getting run by it, or were you ever involved in a pyramid scheme?
I don't think so. Dan Union is a different story, but I don't think I've been part of one.
Well, maybe we should subpoena Dan Union to the podcast.
Yeah, maybe. Dan Union's fast money. That's the BJJ Fanatics instructional I'm going to be putting down.
Fast money, no questions asked.
Fast money, no questions asked. That's right.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I've been part of a pyramid scheme.
Now, if Dan Union were a fighter, what would his fight name be?
If Dan Union was a fighter, what would his fight name be? Just money. Isn't that like don't they call him Money or was Money Mayweather?
Yeah, it could be Fine Print Dan, Fine Print Union, right? Dan, no refunds, Union.
No refunds.
Yeah.
That's right.
Teflon Dan Union, right? Nothing sticks to him.
Nope. He's retired though. Those days have gone have moved on.
His jersey's up in the rafters, huh?
His jersey's up in the rafters, yes.
Okay, good for him. Good for Dan.
There's no more packages that have been addressed to Dan Union, unfortunately.
Okay, well maybe Dan Union, we can have him make a sojourn south once in a while.
Maybe.
Do some Dan Union like work.
That's right. All right, we got a good topic for these guys today.
Yes, we do.
I really like that. I've been thinking about it, and we were talking about time versus speed.
Time versus speed. Are they the same thing or are they different?
So I'll let you start us off. What got you thinking about the topic specifically, and where do you think people get the two mixed up?
Well, I think this all goes back to ego. Is where they get mixed up.
Okay.
I think our two main adversaries walk hand in hand. Who are our two main adversaries?
Ego and expectation?
Speed and strength.
Okay.
Right? Close, but speed and strength would be our adversaries when we're teaching someone, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
That's who we're working against. We're working against speed and strength. And speed and strength come from any number of physical and or psychological reasons, correct?
Yes, yeah.
You could feel you're just behind. You feel like this guy's got your number. You're not that good. you just want to beat this guy. You used to beat this guy, now he's getting better, you're not. So that's when you call on your friend's speed and strength.
And can I just let's go on like a tangent just for 1 second. I do talk about this in class, but it's a good reminder. Why, as instructors, do we not want students to use speed and strength? I can think of a few reasons, but just so people understand, because right now in the YouTubes, there's a lot of conversation of no, speed and strength are part of jiu-jitsu. If you have speed and strength and flexibility, why shouldn't you be using your physical attributes? Blah, blah, blah. And I think there's a time and place for speed and strength, which is, when you show up to a competition on a Saturday, right?
Yeah.
But as an instructor, why do we want to get students away from using speed and strength, especially in training?
Okay, there's two ends of the spectrum. There's the one end where technique does the heavy lifting, where you create mechanisms and mechanical advantages and leverage and angles. And then there's the other end of the spectrum where it's you just outpower and you're out athleticism.
Right.
You're more athletic, you're stronger than everybody else, you're faster. That's how you're winning. Okay. We got to get you closer to the technique, because speed and strength only works until you find someone stronger and faster.
Absolutely.
Then your speed and strength doesn't work. Now, can I go on a small tangent as well?
Let's do it.
Okay, because I had an epiphany last week. Okay. And how many times would I yell at people to slow down?
It's regular.
Okay. How many times have I taught people to slow down?
Interesting.
So I realized that I drove myself insane yelling at people to slow down. In reality, I don't think I ever deliberately took anybody and taught them, hey, this is how you slow the game down. I don't think I ever did that. So I'm like, I was getting mad at all these people. Should have been mad at myself. I was mad at myself. So last week, a whole part of our class was talking about that and addressing it. And like, when I asked for this, these are some things you can do
to slow it down.
To slow it down, to not have to resort, because you know speed and strength way more than you know technique, right?
Yeah.
And for a long time, you're going to trust speed and strength much more than you're going to trust technique. Correct?
Yep.
Until someone shows you and explains to you, hey, this is how the technique works. Not the techniques, but just how to position before the techniques and how to literally reset yourself to then do something properly. So I never really taught that approach before on how to slow the game down. So that's what I'm doing now.
All right, and that comes into our topic.
That's where the topic came from, because I got mad at myself. So I'm like, because I'm just yelling. I'm like, you know what? I'm thinking, why doesn't anyone ever listen to me for years? So I'm like, well, what would they do? I'm like, well, what have I shown them to do? I'm like, I don't know if I ever really showed anybody how to slow things down. Have you ever taught anyone to slow things down?
No.
No. Did you ever think about it?
No.
No. But you want them to slow down, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. So it's something that we got to work on.
That's interesting. That's a interesting perspective. I think it's one of those things that, like, innately when you instruct, you have so much belief in the technique working, you just feel like the students are gonna appreciate that and understand that if we do the technique right, it doesn't need to be reinforced with athleticism, ideally. Yeah. But in reality, students are trying to make the technique look like, they're not trying to make the technique look like, it's hard to make the technique look like what they saw. So they try to make the result look like what they saw.
Yes.
Right? And that's where speed versus time comes in. Right?
Yes.
Speed is just something moving across time. And if you have the time, you can move slowly, and it looks like the same picture, right?
Yeah. Well, speed is a segment of time.
It's a segment of time.
It's a little piece of time. Now, do we look at one of Ewok's paintings, and do you ever say, "Oh, this one was finished way before this one. I can tell that he went faster on this one than this one."
No.
No, you can't. So that's art, that's technical, it's everything. When you explain a technique, do you A plus B plus C equals D, right? You give the steps and this is your outcome. Do you ever give a duration of which it has to happen in?
Rarely. To be honest, rarely.
Rarely. No, I never have. I never say it has to happen in a certain amount of time. It has to happen at a certain pace or speed. No, it just has to happen.
Has to happen.
Right? But I think as we go further and further in life, now we're in what, 2025? Everything is quicker and easier, isn't it?
Yes.
Right? You don't have to go out and leave your fucking house to get a cup of coffee. They'll bring it to you.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You'll pay for it, but they'll bring it to you.
Yeah.
Everything's more expensive and easier to get. Okay. Do you think that's the same with Jiu-Jitsu?
I don't have the context. I mean, I just
Yeah, like
probably, yeah.
People are thinking, okay, well, I need the speed here to get this done. It has to be done quick.
Yeah.
And how am I going to pay for it?
My body?
Do I pay with strength and speed, or do I pay with technique?
Got it.
You know, if you don't have the technique, then you have to pay for it somehow, don't you?
Right. And what people don't realize is every time they pay for it with speed and strength, they're losing the opportunity to build their bank of technique.
Exactly. They're not building credit.
They're
right?
not building credit. Yes.
Yes. When you do it smartly, you build credit. But they're not building any credit. They're just hand to mouth, right?
Yeah.
Working for cash, spending cash.
One of the things I try to work on with my students, especially when they're drilling, is I call it digital movements, right? You've talked about this before, that every technique has kind of like breathing built in.
Yeah.
There's almost like a cadence. This movement, it's like in, out, in, out, in, out, right? So there's like steps in the movements that are kind of built in that are, I wouldn't call them organic pauses. In live roll, it's not like you need to stop. But definitely when you're drilling, it's like this is a movement, it's like a chord, right? This is a chord, the chord. And I think when we drill, if we can find those places, and people want to make it like one fluid, like you start here and then you just magically appear over there. I think if people, especially when they drill, like be like a robot a little bit, especially when you're drilling, because during drilling, there is no concept of time. You have all the time in the world, so you shouldn't be incorporating speed at all, right?
Yeah.
During the live roll, it's understanding. During drilling, your drilling partner is not gonna, close his arm because you didn't drill it fast enough or something. You got time. Yeah. So keep that cadence. And I think that's also indicative of how we roll, is a lot of times we don't set up our opportunities correctly. So the technique generally has a built-in grip structure, positional structure, pressure, and those are things that give us time in order to eat the space, right?
Yes.
When you don't set up your grips properly, when you don't have the right angle, if you don't have the right pressure, that's why you're compensating with speed, because you set but as a higher belt, you find these positions and you could be in the middle of a pass and you'll just stop in the middle of the pass. And you can finish the pass whenever you want because you have all the ingredients and it's done.
Yep.
Right? So it's like, I think people take that for granted, that it's, there's like these windows that close.
Yeah.
But it's
I have to get it in before they do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a byproduct of not having your ingredients set up properly.
Yeah. So you're just going to rush through it.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to rush through this because I'm not confident I have all the tools. So I'm going to get through this as quickly as possible.
Right. It's like running through a minefield.
Yeah, well, literally, it's like not having all your paperwork and everything ready when you're at the airport, and then you try to race through security,
Right.
right? Because fuck you, have a seat, right? No, you're not going to get away with it.
Chances are it's not going to work out very well.
No, you're not gonna. I'm not gonna empty my pockets. Not when I'm in a hurry. Okay, yeah, let's see how that works.
Right. What were some of the tools you gave your students to kind of to help with that, to find the places where they could slow the game down?
Well, I call them strategic pauses.
Okay.
Right? Like, and again, it's about the breathing, it's about the footwork, right? A lot of knees together, knees apart. Like different things that like just will help you remember. So if it's knees together, knees apart, where do you need to start?
Knees apart, because you have to bring
Knees apart, right? So when you're in the guard, your knees shouldn't be together, should they?
No.
So that's help reinforcing good habits. Just with that, we're already reinforcing good habits in our stance and posture.
Right.
Okay. Once you understand, that's how we're going to efficiently move is knees together, knees apart. So your base is always knees apart.
Okay.
Okay. Just trying to reinforce, better habits. And these strategic pauses, like where you get through a transition and, say I passed a guard and I have a leg lace and I roll the person onto the outside a little bit and I get a gift wrap. Right?
Yeah.
Should I be in a hurry to move?
No.
No. Right? I have control. I have a mechanism set up. I can take a breath and I can think logically, where do I want to go from here? What are my strengths? What are their weaknesses? Right?
Absolutely.
We can get that done in 5 seconds, probably. Right?
Yeah.
So take a few seconds, collect yourself, then move on. What's the hurry?
Yeah.
Right? I throw a shin staple on someone. Do I race to get past their guard?
No, you want them to have fun. You want them to experience
No, I
it.
want to cook them. I want to make them want me to pass. I want them to cry. Okay? I want them to never want to be in that position again.
Absolutely.
Then I'm going to put them back there over and over. Why? Because I could take my time. Knee on belly, body slicing, knee in the hole, right? All places where I'm controlling a hip, usually against the mat, and I can take my time.
What about from defensive positions?
Defensive positions, it's funny. I've been doing a lot of defensive live rolling lately, and I've been reviewing the tape, and I see some repetitive things that I do that I don't think my opponents ever see that I do, which is okay. I don't care if they understand it. But I do a lot of pressure checking with my knees when I'm on the bottom to see like what's,
If something has given it, if something will move.
No, if how committed they are to staying on pressure.
Okay.
Right? If I can move them a little bit, okay, and they're willing to move a little bit. That and I just protect my arms and neck. What else do I have to worry about? I protect my arms and neck, and I look for a hook. What else do I need to do? I don't bridge. I don't hip escape.
Right.
I don't do that anymore.
I think that's something, we're talking about time and speed, and the natural attribute that goes with that is patience.
Yeah.
And if we're talking especially to a lot of white belts, right? And white belts, in my opinion, the emphasis should be on defending. And what defending means is not getting out of arm bars and triangles. I think arm bars, getting out of submissions it's very difficult it's very high level to be patient when you're put in that bad of a position, right? When you're in an arm bar, when you're in a triangle, it's hard to find spaces to be patient. But when you're in the bottom of side control, when you're in bottom of mount, when someone has your back before the bad things have happened, right?
Yes.
And like you said, if you make the emphasis on protecting your neck and protecting your arms, and especially for lower belts, where a lot of times as instructors we mitigate a lot of leg locks. We ask people not to use leg locks on white belts. just for that reason, to just kind of
Yeah.
explore the
Give
scope.
them less to think about, less to worry about.
So if you can just find those places and be patient, right? And understand that in those spaces, as a white belt, your goal is to survive. Your goal is not to escape yet. There's no expectation for you to escape. Your goal is just take your time, and there's no reason to explode out. And you can work your escapes, like you said, just kind of find those moments where you can pause.
Yeah.
Talking about getting a shin in, right? That's a pause moment, right?
Yeah.
Or,
as soon as I get a hook in, I can take a breath and I can say, okay, which way am I going?
Or if you can connect your elbow to your knee from bottom of side control or something, right? Generally, in that moment, you've created a barrier, and the ball's in the other person's court, right? You can just sit there for a second and let them figure out what they want to do with it.
Yeah, I got my little things I do, but I don't like I'm not doing any bridging, not doing any hip escapes. I'm letting them do the work, right? You want me, come get me. Right? You want to finish me, come finish me. But you move, I'm gonna put a hook in.
Right.
Right? I'm gonna do some other things. There's a game I play. I fill the void. I haven't explained this to you yet, but I've been doing this for years. How I always challenge there's always a void, a gap between two people that you can't really fill. I don't know. For some reason, it doesn't get filled up. I always try to put myself in the void if I can, because it causes that other person to react. They have to move then. Once I get into that void, they have to retreat. They can't advance anymore.
Right, because they need, even though we try to eat space as the attacker, we still need certain spaces in order to create attacks, right?
There's always this little spaces, and I call it a void because no one ever goes there. It's a natural void, a pocket of space. So I find that if I keep putting myself in these pockets, the other person has to move back. Right?
Yeah.
And it looks stupid. It looks like I'm doing everything wrong, but the person's moving away from me when I'm in a bad position, which is technically kind of how we escape, right?
Yeah.
What if they create the space for me?
A win's a win.
Yeah. Right? You get away. So all I'm doing is looking to put a hook in. I take my time. I was thinking about another thing.
Mm-hmm.
That white belt rounds should be 10 minutes long, much longer. Right? And you don't make the 10-minute, you can't roll for 2 classes. Right? So it's like, okay, I got to hold my gas. I got to be able to make the 10 minutes.
I try to, especially when there's a lot of people on the mat, I try to make the rounds longer.
Yeah.
I scare people with the length of the rounds. Like I try to talk it up a little bit. And people they'll make more of a conscious effort to not lose control of their pace.
Yeah, you can't let, Mr. Ego take over.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. I'm going to finish this quick. Well, it's a 10-minute round. How are you going to finish it quicker? That's time versus speed right there explained.
Even if it's
time is 10 minutes. No matter how fast you go,
it's
still going to be 10 minutes.
That's right. Yeah, I think people don't appreciate that even a shorter round that's 4 or 5 minutes long, if you sprint for a minute or two, a sprint in grappling is a lot. A minute or two of grappling at full strength and speed is a lot.
Remember our 1-minute comp rounds at the first gym?
It's a lot.
How grueling was that?
It is a lot. And I've seen it even with competitive upper belts who they'll jostle for position, in shape guys, and it might be a 6-minute round, but maybe one guy almost has a guard pass, so he tries to give it a little bit more oomph. So like a 30-40 second fight happens where neither of them wants to give up the position.
Mm-hmm.
That 30-40 seconds, they'll be huffing and puffing for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Being in guard, just like
yeah. So again, time versus speed, right? No, we didn't even address this yet. You got a 6-minute round, your speed has to be, in line with your conditioning, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Right.
And it has to be in line with the amount of time you're going to be going at that speed for, with your conditioning, right? And that's also one of the reasons why I think you and I both prefer game plans which are more predictable. We take less chances, no flying arm bars, no rolling kimuras, stuff like that.
No.
Is because those lead to scrambles,
Yes.
and scrambles mess with your equation of pace.
Scrambles mess everything up for everybody.
It's really hard to manage your miles per gallon if you're in a you're spinning around for 30 seconds.
How do you equate miles per gallon when you're doing donuts in the parking lot?
Exactly, right? Yeah.
I have no idea how many. Well, how far did you go? Well, I was just doing donuts in the parking lot for 6 hours. I didn't really get that far.
Your gas tank went down. You didn't go anywhere, but
you didn't go anywhere.
You didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a good point. I want to think about it from the opposite perspective. This is probably more for more senior. I don't want to say more senior grapplers, but generally upper belts are going to be a little bit older just by virtue of how the game works. A lot of times we're challenged with younger, hungrier partners who abuse speed in order to make up for technique.
Yes.
And I think one thing that we allow ourselves to get caught up in, and you should think about it, is you shouldn't just be managing your gas tank. You should be thinking about the other person's gas tank as well. So if you can create that moment of time where the other person has to speed through and use athleticism, your technique will eventually catch up with them, as long as you keep kind of creating these positions where they're forced to use athleticism to get through.
Yeah.
Right? That's part of the game plan as well.
Well, that's what I was teaching people. When you slow the game, when you slow the roll down,
yes.
Do you slow yourself down, or are you slowing the other person down?
You should be slowing the other person down too.
You have to be slowing the other person down, because if you slow down and they still go 100 miles an hour, what have you accomplished? Nothing. To slow things down, you have to slow the opponent down, right? Everybody else, when I used to yell at, would just slow themselves down.
And the other person's running around, and it's...
Yes. Well, both people are moving 100 miles an hour. I tell you to slow down. You slow down at 50, they stay at 100.
Right.
Has the game slowed down?
No.
One side of it has.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's about, I like to bring that, it should be dynamic. It shouldn't be one constant speed, slow or fast. But when I'm making a point or trying to do something, I like to grind that game down to a halt, super slow, and put a lot of pressure on, right?
Yeah.
Does pressure and fast go together hand in hand?
No, not generally.
Not usually, right? You put pressure on them for a second? No. You put pressure on for a good amount of time.
Yeah. So how do we slow is if we're on the bottom and it's difficult to put pressure on our opponent, how do we slow a person down from the bottom?
We take away their attacks and force them, if someone wants to camp out and just go between collar choke and an arm bar or something, right?
Yeah.
Paper cut or arm bar, whatever, they're going to come in there. If they know they're shut down on both, now they got to pack up and move.
Right.
Right? So packing up and move takes time. Okay, so right there you slowed. Attacking comes usually quicker than moving. Okay, so now instead of attacking, they're moving, but they already think they're at the spot, but now they got to move. If they're side control and they got to move and mount isn't there for them, where do they go? Are they looking north-south? Are they looking, scarf, Cascatomi? You got to think of where you want to go next. And I know what your options are too. Right. Or at least I should, right? I know what your options are. So I'm waiting for you to move to the one or two places I know you can get to. Who's really running the game there at that point?
Right.
Right. So if I know where you're going, can I get ahead of you? I absolutely can get ahead of you.
So once we disrupt the attacking rhythm, then the person who's on top is really like
Got to move.
they got to move.
They got to move. And if we know where they're going to move to, so you're on the bottom of side control. Can you have control of the game when you're on bottom of side control?
Yes.
Absolutely, you can. Most people think they can't,
No.
right?
Absolutely. I think it's really important to know how to control the game from bottom side control. That's I think where a lot of mental victories are won.
Yes, and a lot of emotional ones are lost for the
Yes.
person on top.
No. Absolutely.
You can be emotionally wrecked when you pass the guard, you side control, you mount, you do all this stuff. You got nothing to show for it. You're gassed. That person gets on top and wins, right?
No,
That's an
absolutely.
emotional disaster.
I think when we can show our opponent that no matter how much athleticism they bring to the table, doesn't matter how fast you move, doesn't matter how much power you bring, because I know where the gaps are and I can close those doors, and
Yeah.
you have to keep shifting, right? At a certain point, you're going to run out of options and you're going to see that none of them worked. And then what's left for you to do?
Yeah. And I know these stories have happened. I've heard them. What was the score? 18-0. Oh, congratulations. No, I didn't win. I was up 18-0 when they submitted me.
Yeah.
Right?
Right?
You went balls out in the beginning, and that person just weathered the storm. You were gassed. They got on top, choked you out.
Right?
Yeah, you had 18-0, but you still lost. How did that happen?
Stepped on the accelerator for too long.
Time versus speed.
That's it.
That's how it happened. You went too fast for the duration of time you needed to be there.
So going back to we said at the beginning, there's a few reasons why people resort to strength and speed.
Yeah.
I said like ego and expectation. So if you're the white belt, I shouldn't say the white belt. If you're the practitioner, because it happens to everybody, even at higher belts, right?
Absolutely.
How do we avoid that trap of saying I need to make this technique work? Even if my technique isn't there, I need the result. How do we get out of that mindset?
How do you get out of that mindset is you just have to be honest with yourself, which is a tough sell these days, right? You got to be honest, right? What do I say? You get it or you get away with it. Okay, you get away with it. Are you honest to yourself about that?
No.
No, you're not. So,
That means
how do you get somebody who has an addiction problem to get help if they don't want to get help? You can't, right?
no, they
If
got
they don't want to get help, how do you help somebody?
right.
So if we'll call them a wolf belt, right? It's a non-denominational belt.
Yes.
No offense to the wolf belt owner, right? To me, the wolf belt is like
It's the opposite of a rainbow belt. It's
the opposite of a rainbow belt.
no color.
There's no color. It's universal, right?
Universal, yes.
The wolf belt. We don't know what belt it is. It's the wolf belt. So the wolf belt, and now I just totally lost my train of thought.
Oh no!
What was the question again? Oh,
no, about being honest with yourself.
oh yeah, being honest with yourself. So, the person has the addictive properties, right? And they can't be honest. How can you help someone who doesn't want help? So, how do you help someone who can't be honest with themselves? You can't. It has to start with them saying, okay, I need to relearn this. Even if I'm 2 belts past a wolf belt, I need to relearn this because it's not working for me. Who has the security and the courage to do that?
It's tough,
right?
It's
At
tough.
brown belt. Yeah, I don't know this like I thought I know it. I have to relearn it all. At brown belt, even black belt. Yeah, I really was just getting away with it. Now I'm done. What do? Do I quit? Or do I just go back and relearn all of jiu-jitsu?
Right, we discussed this on prior episodes where sometimes even a lower belt, a white belt who doesn't know jiu-jitsu might show us a movement that we had not thought of.
Yeah.
And we realize, oh, that exists.
We
And
have to address it.
we have to address it. And that is a moment where we can choose to either address it when people do that, I'm just going to give it a little bit more gusto, right? Which maybe in the immediate time, sometimes that is the solution, whatever, depending on how big of a problem it is. But the reality is, if you want to get better at that technique, if you want to get better at that position, you have to say, I don't have the answer, and I need to go back to the drawing board and clean up the theory until
there's things I have to fix where most people don't want to scrutinize or be critical on themselves to that extent, especially if you're winning, right?
Yeah.
If it's all working,
it's really easy
to be working.
Yep.
What do you need to change?
Yep.
Right? And I'm of the mind, if everything's working, you're training in the wrong room.
Or you're training the wrong way.
Well, you're training in the wrong room. You know, you don't have people who are challenging you.
Yeah.
If everything's working, just like I students, how could no one have any questions? You know, I don't understand when people don't have questions. It baffles my mind sometimes. Like, you know, how could you not have a question? We just went over stuff. I can see that your brain is still processing and you've never seen this before. I know you enjoy it. I know it's working for you. How can you not have a question? Okay. I'm not going to force you. And I'm not going to give you extra information.
Right.
Right? So you don't get extra information. You get to ask questions. If you don't ever want to ask questions, I'm just not going to give it out. I need you to ask for it.
Right.
Right? Like the addict needs to ask for help.
Yeah.
You can't give them help. They have to ask for it. They have to want it.
You got to take some ownership over your own jiu-jitsu and come forward.
Yeah. And if you complain, hey, man, I should be a blue belt, but you know this, well, how many questions a month do you ask? 0. So, I mean, as far as I know, you think you know everything. Right?
Right.
I don't see any problems. You don't have any questions, so I just assume you're okay with everything. And everybody's beating you. Well, hey, that's, again, where are the questions? Where is it? Hey, I need help with this. Hey, this isn't working.
I want to circle back also just on that note of asking questions and kind of what we're talking about. This is more for people who have their ego in check, who are, I think it's easier when people don't think they have the technique, right, than when they do think they have it. Mm-hmm. And going back to what we were talking about with, you were talking about pause points. I think another advantage of pause points, and again, this comes back to time versus speed, of making that window large enough to where you don't need to use athleticism to blow through it, versus that is any time you can find those pause points within a technique where you can hang out, set up for the next breath of the technique. Mm-hmm. Also, those are kind of like checkpoints. So when you're hitting, when you want to do problem shooting, right? It's like if you were to call tech support, generally you're getting someone on the other end of the call who's got a flow chart, and they say, did you try this? Did you try this? Yes. Did you try this? Did you try this? Right? And if you're just saying, I turn on my computer and it blows up, well, that doesn't help me, right? Yeah. Well, so if you're trying to guard pass and you say, well, I got to these grips and I'm able to get to this position and hang out comfortably, great. Okay, we know that's not the problem. I'm able to stand up and get to that position comfortably, great. We know that's not the problem, right? But every time I try to break the grip off my collar, I end up in an armbar. Okay, well, now we can focus.
Let's work on that.
We can work on that. And it's a lot of times it's like, well, what did you try? And now you don't have to necessarily remember the whole roll, because that's difficult. Ideally, we remember everything we did, but you're just like, oh, well, sometimes I try to do this, sometimes I try to do that. And you're just like, oh, well, every time you're doing that, you're leaning your head forward or sticking your arm out, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's much easier to troubleshoot. When we cover that space with athleticism, we run through it, you know? Sometimes it goes right, sometimes it goes wrong. You don't even know what you did.
Yeah.
You might
Most
have
people can't backtrack on their rolls.
you might have skipped a step from two breaths ago. That's still haunting you, and by the time you get here, that step you skip back there, getting you in trouble now, right?
Yeah.
So I think slow it down.
Yeah.
Take a breath. Find those moments where you can just hang out, take a look at the chessboard, see where the pieces are. And I think also try to get to the same positions over and over again when you're drilling a technique, right?
Yeah. Yeah. When people are driving and they got lost, right? Do they remember where they strayed off the route?
No.
No, they never remember where they got lost.
Absolutely.
Right? Same thing about jiu-jitsu. The challenge is knowing where you got lost. You have to be more present. You have to be more self-aware to know where you're getting lost.
Awesome.
And driving, you should be able to do the same thing.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
I got to that fork and I was unsure, so let me try and get back to there and go the other way.
Right. And if we're going on like a long trip that we take regularly, do we generally have rest stops that we know that we, hey, there's this gas station on this exit I really like. There's a, fast food joint across the way. I sit there.
They always have ice cold Dr. Pepper.
Exactly. Right. And then that's a milestone. So if you ever get lost, you just okay, I'm like 2 exits past that place. Maybe I can just backtrack to there and go from there.
You can always figure it out if you have your landmarks and you know your way. You gotta have an internal compass, a sense of direction, right? And that familiarity comes from mat time and having a purpose or a plan when you're rolling, right? We talked about at the beginning of the year, right? The roadmap.
For sure.
If we don't have a roadmap, how are we going to get anywhere?
Absolutely.
Keys don't come with GPS, do they?
Not yet.
Belts don't come with GPS, do they?
No, they don't.
No, they don't. Just because you got another belt doesn't mean there's a little transistor in there that's doing something for you, getting you there. No, don't mean that.
All right. I think moral of this story is don't be a blue belt.
There we go. We got subscribers canceling already.
There we go. Guys, please throw us some questions if you have any. We're looking to help you guys out as well. Like Birdman was saying, we know you got questions. Just ask them.
And hey, here's what I'm going to say. Be a better blue belt.
Be a better blue belt.
Be a better blue belt.
Be the blue belt.
Better than that. You need to be a better blue belt.
Be the blue belt your instructor knows you can be.
That's right. Be the blue belt everybody else wants to be.
There you go.
Right?
That's it.
Right? We're encouraging you. We're not discouraging you.
No, not at all. Yeah. Any closing thoughts?
It's come train in Florida. It's warm. It's beautiful.
When are the clinics happening?
Anytime you want a clinic, we're gonna get them going on. I think we have 2 for March set up, April. So yeah, we're doing the private clinics now too, where you come to me with your dates and we put it all together.
Oh, awesome!
So we're doing this, small group like boutique training.
Awesome, and it's people can come down for gymnastica, people can come down for jiu-jitsu, a little bit of both.
Yeah, both, one or the other. But I like to have a bit of gymnastica in the jiu-jitsu because it does help.
Absolutely. All right. Good stuff, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next time.